Hey, and welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson, and this week we're behind the wheel of the 2014 Chevy Silverado High Country Edition. Now, what this does is takes a city slicker like myself, tries to make them a Western man, and we'll see if this cowboy can actually wrangle this vehicle. Now, the High Country is Silverado's first attempt at a premium pickup truck, and is going to go up against most notables like Ford's King Ranch Edition and Dodge's Longhorn. Now, all these are going to deliver that cowboy-esque like interior, and most notable is that brown leather that a lot of people kind of take aback at first glance. But again, this is kind of going with that Western rugged interior, and even like on the Longhorn, they actually have kind of those saddlebags on the front seat backs. Now, in comparison to the Longhorn Edition, which we test drove several months back, it's basically roughly the same size. Now, this measures in around about 230 inches overall with around about 143-inch stretch wheelbase. Now, that's just a few inches, maybe more than Dodge's Ram, but either way, the comparisons are pretty darn close. Now, what I did notice on this High Country and the Silverado compared to the Longhorn is the ingress to me is a little bit more comfortable. Now, I don't really know if that's in my psychological or truly is just that. This vehicle seems a little bit more fitted to the ground versus the Longhorn, which is really jacked up. Now, that came with the air ride air suspension system, which did allow you to lower it manually, but I do kind of like that the availability on this vehicle to get inside was a little bit more down to earth. Now, don't get me wrong, the ground clearance between the Longhorn Edition and this model is probably within a fraction of each other, but the Ram did just seem a little bit higher up. Now, one thing that helps with ingress on both vehicles is the side step rails. Now, one thing you're also going to notice on the High Country is the added bling, most notable the chrome on the doors, of course, on the step rails, and those huge 20-inch wheels. Now, of course, that goes to boot with the cowboy style and that matching belt buckle. Well, I'm no rhinestone cowboy, but on this vehicle they replaced rhinestones with chrome because they even continued it all the way up to the front in what I refer to as grille warfare. Now, they have a lot there, of course, around the headlights and that lower intake up front. And just to add a little bit more, they put some on the mirrors and the door handles. Now, the one thing you got to realize with the High Country, the Longhorn, and the King Ranch Editions is that they're all typical truck on the outside, of course, with a little bit of bling on this one, but what they really deliver is on the inside and that added Western appeal and that cowboy styling. Now, like on the Longhorn Edition, you're going to find that kind of saddle hide interior, this brown, and that really takes a lot of people's breath away because they just maybe don't get it, but this is that cowboy-like interior. Now, on the Longhorn, you really see even more Western style, which is those saddlebags and those buckles and things like that. Now, it's a little more subdued on this vehicle, but what I really like is this center console. It is massive. You open it up in this one huge cavern with kind of a little niche here, and of course an SD card reader and some USBs and auxiliary jack. Now, another nice feature is the ability to move these cup holders. Now, they're right here in the middle right now, but I can take them up and actually move them forward. So now I've even got a deeper cavern right here. Even better, put some items down here, move this cup holder back, put it in place, and I've actually got a nice little hidden niche. Now, there's a lot of similarities across the board between the King Ranch, the Longhorn, and the High Country that we have here, and most notable is going to be the innovations in the electronics on the inside. Now, what this does across the board with the premium-like interior you have here is really make you forget that you're in a rugged pickup truck. Now, one system that you're not going to find on the Silverado here is the smart key system, and what that is basically that push start button that you find on the Ram trucks. Now, this one is the old traditional key, which you're going to have to fiddle out of your pocket and put in the old ignition and crank up this vehicle. Now, I talked about taking time to look at the rear cargo box and really finding the fine-tuning differences that you're going to prefer. You're also going to have to do on the inside, really, when it comes down to the ergonomics and the feel of the vehicle. Now, one system you're going to want to look at is the MyLink versus the Uconnect. Now, on this vehicle, of course, I love the MyLink. It is touchscreen. You do have nominal controls here, but the Uconnect maybe is a little bit more user-friendly. Now, one interesting thing on this particular vehicle is that you really kind of hit the home screen. That's going to tell you everything you have. On this one, of course, got XM radio, the Bluetooth phone, and what we thought was navigation, when actually it's actually Onstar Navigation. Now, what that means is you call the Onstar, they're going to kind of send you directions versus the mapping system that you may be familiar with. Now, that was kind of a shocker because I really was trying to kind of find my way around a city and really couldn't even get to a map, which was slightly aggravating. The Uconnect made that a lot simpler. Now, down below you're going to find dual climate controls. Now, this one I love because they're the dial-in system, meaning you really set the temperature versus the old blue, more red, trying to dial it in. Now, one thing I didn't like is right here behind the steering wheel. And most notable is the kind of old gauges, the old needle that goes up and down. I'd rather have some nice digital display. Again, this is kind of an uppity truck. Give me some computer back there behind the steering wheel. Now, there's one comparison you won't find here on the High Country compared to Longhorn, and that's that optional ram box, which we love. Now, what that is, it makes these sidewalls a little bit bigger back here, adds kind of a tackle box type element, which basically allows you to stow gear away out of the inclement weather. And the best part of that is you're able to put all the gear in here, have as many people you want inside, and really never even touch the cargo box. Now, what we do love on the Silverado, of course, no matter how pretty it is on the outside, it still is a true rugged truck. Now, what you see here is a 5'8" standard cargo box, but you can, of course, upgrade to a 6'6". Now, one thing we think should be against the law is not providing a standard bed liner, because this vehicle doesn't even have it. Now, a lot of these trucks are, of course, coming with that Line-X spray-in system, basically making it sure tight so it doesn't flutter away like it did back in the old days. Now, another nice feature we love on this one versus the Longhorn is the ability to kind of ease this rear tailgate down versus making it slam. And that's something you won't find on the Dodge Ram. Now, of course, we think of pickup truck, we think of roughing it, but we're not really doing that here, because of course you've got heated and cooled seats up front, and to mention heated backs, that's not too bad. Now, not all cargo boxes are created equal, so you may want to take just a minute to really diagnose which one you prefer. Now, on that Longhorn edition with the optional ram boxes, what you're going to notice again is these sidewalls are a lot thicker, and this rear wheel well is actually hidden behind all that mechanism. Now, this particular model, of course, there is no spray-in bed liner. Again, we think it should be a law that that is required, because once you start adding items in here, really scraping up this interior, it's not going to match the outside. Now, what you see here, of course, you got the nice little niches here that allow you to put lumber across, make this kind of a two-tier system. And again, a 4x8 sheet of plywood will easily slide in here and hang out the back just a little bit. Now, on a lot of the models we see, there is kind of a rail system here, allowing you to have those tie systems that kind of move back and forth. Now, in this particular model, they're really kind of anchored at the corners and down low, but it still is a true rugged cargo box. You really just got to fine-tune the choices that you prefer. Now, one other feature we did like on the Ram was that kind of rear cargo management system they had. It was one of those divider systems that basically kind of cinch into place and really allowed us to keep our cargo from slinging around. Now, in a system like this, again, without the bed liner, you're really going to want to prevent all that moving around, because more movement means more scrapes. Now, what we do love on this Silverado is this nice little kind of cutout rear bumper area, allowing you to have a little step so you can climb inside quite easily. Now, that's something you're not going to find on the Ram. Now, another thing to think about when you have a big vehicle like this is safety. You know, a lot of these vehicles, of course, they come with that backup camera, but even more importantly is coupling that with a sensor system, basically allowing you to kind of hear audibly before you hit something, because a vehicle like this really has a huge turning diameter and really can find a hard way getting into those tight spots. Now, this vehicle delivers equal legroom all the way around, so anywhere you sit it's going to be comfortable, and you're going to find that just the same on the Ram. Now, one thing I didn't like, because of my 6-foot frame, I really need to stretch back, but what doesn't stretch is the steering wheel. Now, of course, it will tilt up and down, but it doesn't telescope, because I really want that, you know, steering wheel to come towards me just a little bit. Now, what does come to you is the brake and the gas pedal. Now, for a vehicle that's built for a Cowboy, you got to actually make sure there's enough horsepower in the hood. No pun intended. That means this vehicle comes with a 5.3 liter V8 engine, delivers around about 355 horses and 383 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you need a little bit more oomph under the hood, that's a 6.2 liter V8 engine. Now, that's going to deliver 420 horsepower and 460 foot-pounds of torque. Now, when properly equipped, this vehicle can tow around about 9,800 pounds and handle about 1,900 pounds of payload. Now, that does it for this edition of Roy Warrior and our treat behind the wheel of the High Country Silverado. Now, again, this delivers Cowboy-like styling with a lot of bling on the outside, most notable these 20-inch wheels and that huge chrome grille. But what it always will deliver is that true rugged pickup truck you're looking for. Now, I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Roy Warrior, and as always, keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.